The little input is called Designing Hybrid Reality Games for Educational Context, and is due to the fact that in my work I always try to create and reflect on hybrid spaces. And all the interventions that I do, they are informed by, on the one side, games, and on the other side, performance. So these are my two backgrounds. This is a little definition of hybrid reality and hybrid spaces. So it's about like making a bridge of digital and physical spaces that is happening in a process. So we are like acting in both spheres at the same times, and it's bridged with social practices. So social practices occurring simultaneously in digital and physical spaces together with mobility. So with the high rise of mobile devices, there's lots of potential to create hybrid spaces. I'm working with a concept that is called hybrid reality theater, and I introduced that in 2014. And it means that I do performances that are like working together in digital and physical spheres, and thereby are located in hybrid spaces. And I think what's interesting is, on the one side, that it is a process, it's transitory, it's over after the action, and it's influenced by all the actors and spectators. So if you're in the urban space doing a performance, even if it's done with the usage of mobile media, you are influenced by your surrounding, and the surrounding is always another one than in the first turn, maybe. This is part of the category of playful urban arts that combine somehow site-specific art with playfulness, and the idea always is to have a transformation of the urban space, meaningful transformation of the urban space. So make people do something in their usual environment that helps them to see it in a different way, or like get a new idea of what could be, a rise of possibilities in your regular way of life. This is how it might look. So it's looking totally normal, just some people with their mobile phones on the way somewhere. You might see that there are little identifiers that is helping the group to know that they are part of a performance, and also triggering some analysis by the bystanders who see why are they wearing masks maybe. But you don't need masks, of course, but in these examples we have some little masks. So if you want to do a hybrid reality game, I'm not always doing games, but also much more low threshold activities that are bridging these two areas. But games have a certain performative quality, and for me I think it's making sense to work with games, even though these are pretty intensive projects. You need some time to create a game by yourself with a group of youth maybe. So if you want to design a hybrid reality game, you have these three areas, and you are like creating an intervention to initiate whatever kind of transformation. In combining these three layers, we have the display part, then we have the locations where you have to move, and you have the performance part, so the actual happenings in the streets. I will show you some examples on the one hand, and also what it takes to go to the place of having your own hybrid reality game. So this is going to be first. First, of course, we have the topic decision, and you're totally free. You can do games on whatever you like to, and that's also a huge power that we have in games, that they can be connected to any topic you find interesting or the group you're working with find interesting. As you might imagine by the graphics of this game, it was about prejudices between designers and engineers. So it was done at a campus in Milano, and there was like rivalries between designers and engineers, and that's why they chose to have a game that's reflecting on that and maybe overcoming these prejudices. Then a huge part is the location scouting, because if you want to have a combination between physical action and digital action, you need to know where it should take place. So what part of your physical surrounding fits the narrative of your game, what makes sense. Because if you have a digital action that is totally separate from what you're doing in the physical space, no one will make a connection. So we need to have a fitting between these two areas. Then you have to decide on the game mechanics and the narration, because you have the mobile device that is like triggering all the people what to do in the physical space. It's like an orchestra. You just tell them what to do and they like do it. Yeah, you see they did funny things, so they tried to walk around and identify engineers, and then they put buttons and stickers on them, I love engineers, or they went to the library and tried to identify designers' tables and engineers' tables and then overturned them. So they rearranged all the tables and took photos of them. And what we found, what is pretty important, is to have identifiers to highlight the protective frame. So if you're part of a game, you know anything you do, it's okay, because you are doing it due to the fact that there is game rules telling you what to do at that time. And even though if you are in your normal surrounding, you are not behaving like yourself. You're behaving as a role, as a character inside a game. So the more you want to have people behaving in a weird way, in a way that they normally wouldn't do, the better it is to work with identifiers that help them to be identified as part of that game and also as part of a group. So it's easier for them to act out of the normal roles. You can also, of course, play with that to not have it. If you don't have the identifiers, it's even more interesting to have the influence between the bystanders and the actors, because they need to really analyze intensely what's happening there. Why is someone doing something? And there are nice conversations taking place, so people ask people why they are acting weird somehow, and they need some time to figure it out. Yeah, you can work with free tools to create these bridges between the different areas, and we are always working with ARIS, but there are lots of more free tools. This is just one editor of several editors, and it can help you to put location spots and QR codes and codes, and yeah, you have the editor and also the app, so you can try out by yourself. Also, there's lots of free tools to create the mechanics and to have ideas of how to find a topic for a game. Let's see some examples. This is just to show you that there's really lots of topics to be covered. This was one of the first games we did in Milano. It's called Insula, and it was about identifying places in the campus area that are used to be crowded, but still are not meant to have interactions. So like the coffee queue. There are coffee machines and people are queuing, but they're not really talking to each other. It's just waiting areas. And this is an example of the waiting area, the elevator. And in the game, they had this plastic foil. I don't know the exact English word for that, but you can crush them and make nice sounds. And that was one idea of having people to interact with each other. So really, the people that moved into the elevator, they immediately wanted to crush the bubbles and work together, even though if they didn't know there was a game, they just joined the activities and went, acting and crushing bubbles. So for the players, sometimes it was a problem because there were not so many bubbles anymore to be crushed because they were all done already by others. So just one little game element of that game. Another game we did is 2016, is called Get Super. And it's working with a cover story, which is an interesting idea because you can tell your players that your narrative is going in a certain way, but at the end, like have a twist where it's going around and you see that all the things you did were actually others than you thought. And this game, the players think that they are part of a superhero academy and they have to solve tasks and then they gain powers and more powers in order to have a certificate at the end of the game. But what they don't realize in acting out pretty fast is that all the powers they gain make it harder for them to like see or behave. So they get glasses, but they are making them colorblind. But it's taught to them that there is a power of seeing that they received. And at the end, when they receive their certificate, it's taught to them that it was actually about the side effects of getting drunk. So it's like how our senses are influenced by alcohol. And this was an intense experience for the players of that game, as they were so much into gaining the powers and fulfilling the tasks and goals. And later really went like, oh, I didn't see it coming. They really didn't see it coming. And then it was, it took a lot of analysis for them, and it was an experience that quite outlasted. So it's a power of games also to create experiences that are bodily outacted and that can be outlasting. Totally different topic. It's a game from last year. It's called Open the Closed Door, and it's dealing with OCD. And all the tasks that the players are doing in that game are somehow related to this illness. So here they have to solve a puzzle, and they can only move on after they did that. Or in this task, they need to have a parkour that they are walking around in a certain floor, and they can only move on if they make it without putting a foot on the black lines on the floor. And this was also an interesting experience as the players started to talk about their own attachment maybe to the illness. So really people had to do with it in their regular life or normal life, and they opened up to talk about it to their classmates. And this is the newest example I wanted to show, and it has a little film that could be started now. I'm just giving a sign to do it. Yeah, that's the trailer that the group of designers created. And also it's a time to greet my lovely colleagues from Milano, Ilaria Miardiani and Beatrice Gobo, who did the project together with me. And as you might guess by the trailer, it's about us being like tied to plugs so much, and it's getting worse and worse every day. So people tend to search the electricity spots whenever they enter a building because they need to charge their smartphones like every couple of minutes. And the people that designed that game, they wanted to create awareness about that, like feeling like slaves somehow to electricity. Now it's not working anymore to switch. Maybe you can do it from the back. Probably because it's inside the video still. Because there will be some pictures coming. I can just keep on talking. They're there. Okay, you see, like told in the trailer, it's a group game and the players are divided into two groups, so the workers and the chargers, and everyone needs to find the charger first to have somehow access to battery. And they are tied, like you can see, here. Here. They are tied together and they need to find the right adapters. So they worked with the adaptators that are from the different countries to bring together always two people. And they have these signs with batteries, and you see that she's getting one out of there, one sticker, so battery is getting low, and you have only a certain time to fulfill your tasks to get out of the building before your battery is too low to free yourself from the robot world and to become like a human without needing a plug. Okay, the bad thing at the end is that you see that after you reach the human world, it's all about being plugged. So they were pretty sad, the players. And you also, back. And you also see that they really integrated the objects that were part of the building that they designed the game for. So there's one part where you need to charge some special power stuff, and they worked in the microwave area, and you really put something into the microwaves and charge it, and then crush it in an aluminum crusher, and it's making, I don't know, pretty much noise, so that everything is actually connected to the topic and to the surrounding. So which is, I think, the most important part to look at when you design a hybrid reality game. Okay, so just to wrap up somehow, after now so many examples, what I think, like, if you leave the topic behind, there are some connecting elements, aspects, or learning effects that are always coming together when you have such a gaming experience. So it's a shared experience for both. For, on the one hand, the designers that are working together and that are intensely analyzing a topic and also a location. And still, always they are working in groups. You can also design, of course, single-player game experiences, but it's not what I used to do, because it's the power of bringing people together in a way that they weren't together before. So it's a rise of new interaction ensembles, because the rules tell you you have to interact with maybe that bystander or with maybe that co-player, but you don't know before, and you maybe haven't talked to that person before, and you have to overcome your inhibits somehow. So here there was a Romeo and Juliet-like game where you needed, when you were playing as a Juliet, to find a Romeo to dance with. And you really had to ask another person, would you mind having a dance with me for a game, maybe? So it was kind of tough for the people playing. You experience familiar places anew, because you have a new view on your surrounding. You're searching for the clues of your game, and you're acting in a weird or irregular way in a certain place, and it's opening up your idea of the possibility that spaces give you. Because we have like our everyday routines, and it's so much taught to us how we need to behave in certain places. where we have to be quiet, where we should not move. I don't know. So many rules. And this can help questioning these rules or like analyzing them again. And maybe altogether get you to a different view of the world. And of course, the topic addressed. That's like the final statement. Thanks, this is my contact. I will be happy to answer some questions. I don't know if I can do it now, but if not, later in the lunch break. Thank you.
We have this online software where they can ask questions through the internet.
Yes.
Tuletan siis meelde, saate küsimusi küsida siis sli.do on see koht, kus saate küsimusi küsida. Seal HITSA on siis see märksõna, mis tuleb sisse panna. And we've had a question that somebody asked from the audience that how long does it take until the players start acting in a natural way, that they don't think they're in a game, but they actually start believing that what they're doing is real?
Yeah, it's not so much the point that we want the players to behave as if they were not in the game. So I can't say that this is actually happening because these are short interventions. If you're doing a physical activity game, you can't have your players act on it for 4 hours. They really get tired. We did 90 minutes game in the town Siegen where I worked before, and it has such hills, and people needed to walk up the hills and they get devastated on that. So I don't think it's important to have them act in a natural way, but it's what's happening after the game experience. Then they are thinking, what was my natural way of acting in these places, and what did I do now? And why is it different? And can also be my natural way be changed? Or do I want to change it?
Do they start taking the game seriously, or they just think it's just a game, it's not it's just supposed to be fun? But do they if their battery was running out, they were oh my battery's running out, yes, I have to move really quickly? Do they really start believing in the game?
Yes, they were pretty immersed into the games. Yeah, if that was a question, sorry. I thought do they think it's themselves? No, they really felt like being a charger and a worker. And it's also because all the games have a certain pace, it's helping people to immerse. If you need to fulfill a task and run and have a timeout at certain place, you get immersed easier. And also it's helping to have the identifiers, because people don't have to question so much when they meet you somewhere and you're not part of the game. It's easier for them if you know they are part of the game to stay in the roles, because otherwise
so wearing masks or something.
Yeah, it's helping.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Ackermann. If it would, a big applause for you.
Thank you.